One of the best ways to get better at golf is by watching and understanding how players who are better than you play their game. I'm a 5 handicap golfer, and I'm going to show you what goes through my mind and how I hit the shots that I do to score lower. So if you're wanting to get down to 5 handicap golf, for example, then hopefully this video is going to be really helpful for you to understand what's going through my mind, and then you can kind of replicate it and hopefully score lower. There's a huge caveat here. Jackson Park here in Chicago is undergoing tee box renovations. So some of the blue tees are exactly where they're supposed to be. Some of them are pushed way up to the red tees. Now in this case, I scored so well on this round that whether I put it into the red tees, the white tees, or the blue tees for handicap, gin reporting, it ends up being scratch golf. And you know, I gotta say the YouTube thing, I'm growing this channel. I will post a lot more high quality, helpful content. So don't forget to give it a like, a comment if you will, a subscribe if you will. That would be wonderful. All right, that's enough. Enjoy it. I've had no warm up here, so I'm just kind of hoping for the best. Lately, I've been hitting cuts. So my thought process here is let me just aim down the left and hit a cut. And as you'll see, I pull it. And that's okay. It goes over the trees. I'm in a fine spot. Now with the tree being in front of my next shot, I'm thinking to myself, yes, I can either punch it low and let it roll out, or I can just completely risk it and try to go around or over the tree or through the tree. And to be honest, was not thinking super rationally here, but was feeling decent about my swing. So I went right at the tree. And it works out. It's okay, but I wouldn't say this was the smartest choice. This just as easily could have shot straight back down. Part of why that worked is because I picked the correct club, where even if the trees did take off a few yards, that the club would still get there, kind of going for the back of the green. For a putt of this distance, about, 12, 13 feet, my goal is not really to make it, it's just to get it as close as possible. I had no putting practice prior to this round, so I'm kind of just winging it, but it ends up being an easy par. On this hole, once again, I'm thinking I'm going to cut it, and you're going to see real quick that I end up just pulling it a little bit. Eventually, I will learn throughout this round that I can just trust my drive today, but until then, you're just going to see these little funky sort of pulls. Ends up in a totally fine spot. You're going to see me pull out my phone to check the dispersion pattern and where I can possibly miss. I use the Y-Golf app, and I use that partially because I work for Y-Golf, but I also work for Y-Golf because I believe in their products. So I can see that the safest line for me based on where the pin is a little bit left and letting it roll towards the hole, because I can also see that the green map shows me that the ball will funnel a little bit more towards the hole. Something to note here is that I tried to swing smooth, not hard. And there's a big difference. And the thing is, I get good distance whether I swing smooth or hard. So it's so much better to swing smooth because I just get better consistency and accuracy that way. Never forget to repair your ball marks. If you give to the course will give to you. Again, for a long putt like this, my thought process is, yes, I'm going to read it and find out how it's going to break, but all I need to do is get it as close as possible. And that right there is mission accomplished. Another easy 2-putt par. If I walk away from this disappointed, I'm just not going to score well the rest of the round. I have to take what I can get. Now, this is a short par 3. A lot of guys could go for the green in one, but there's just too much trouble around the green to actually go for it. It's just so much smarter to lay up. So for me, I'm taking my 3-wood here, and it's just wide open. I can go right at it, and even on my longest 3-wood shots, I'm not going to end up in the bunker. I think a common misconception about single-digit handicap golfers is that they're hitting every shot perfect, and you'll see throughout this round that I just don't do that. I pulled this 3-wood shot, and it ends up being fine. You don't have to be stressed about being in the rough, especially when it looks like this. I end up about 60 yards away, and for these short shots, I actually know the distance that my 56-degree wedge hits from various angles on a clock. So for example, if I want to hit a 60-yard shot here, I need to take my left arm up to parallel with the ground with the face of my club slightly open, and it will almost certainly hit a 60-yard shot. And you'll see here that kind of methodology works so well for my game because it puts me just absurdly close for easy tap-in birdies. Again, another par 4 that just does not require driver. And at this point, I'm starting to realize that with both my driver and 3-wood, I'm hitting them basically straight. So I don't have to hit a cut or a draw or try to shape my shot. I just have to accept what I've got today, especially because I haven't warmed up on the range. So I aim to the left because that's the smartest play on this hole. hole with my 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot.
3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end up hitting a really nice shot. 3-wood, and I end
I could have taken driver, but it's not really necessary on this hole. There's not a major advantage, especially because your miss pattern gets way bigger with a driver. So I'd rather keep it controllable, in play, put me in a good spot. I've got about 75 yards here. The green slopes pretty heavily right to left, so I'm intentionally aiming right of the pin, hoping that it will roll to the left. And unfortunately here, I just do not give it enough gas. So yes, I went right of the pin, put it right where I thought I would, but not long enough, and it rolled a little bit left. And now I know that this putt is going to break right to left. Again, long putt. My only goal is to get it as close as possible. Making it is a bonus. That broke a ton, but I'm within like 3 or 4 feet of the hole, and this is just an easy tap-in par. This is how you score low. 2 putts. I thought I'd learned my lesson about my driver already, but apparently I didn't, because I aim to the left side, and you'll see my body. You'll even see me. Look at me. I'm aiming at the left side, thinking I'm going to hit a cut. And you're going to see pretty clearly that I just don't hit a cut. I hit it exactly straight where I'm aiming. Not a bad problem to have, but something that I just need to take into account. And you'll see on the next few holes that I just own up to that straight drive. Now this is easily the dumbest thing that I did on the course. I should have just kept it low or punched out to the right and accepted my medicine here. And instead I'm trying to shape a huge draw around this tree, and it's like 160 yards to the hole. So this is silly, and you're gonna see it not pay off. Boom, hits a tree, shoots straight back down. And you could see it starting to draw, but I was trying to hit a hero shot here when there was really no reason to hit a hero shot. And this next shot, again, has a tree in the way. So now I have to hit it low. I'll pause here for a second. You'll see on my practice swing that I'm practicing finishing this swing low. And that's because if you finish low, you'll also hit the ball low. So let's see what happens here. Nice. Kept it low. It rolls out quite a bit. And it actually puts me in a really good spot. Pretty proud of that recovery there. Now this is a short par 5, and again, I'm kind of far out from this hole. I could make it maybe, but I'm again just trying to get it as close as possible. And I get it pretty close. Again, another easy tap-in par. Now this one's interesting because it was 115 yards to the pin, and 115 is very much an in-between number for me. I have a really easy 110, a really easy 120. In hindsight, this was a front pin, and you never go right at a front pin. I should have taken my 120 club, and instead I tried to muscle my 110. It doesn't pay off. This is like the only green that I think I didn't hit in regulation that day. And now I have to save myself with a chip shot. I think a lot of people would take their 60-degree wedge and try to pop it up. But the goal here is not to make it or dunk it in the hole. It's just to bump it to as close as possible. My thought process here is let me get the ball to carry onto the green, about 1 yard into the green, maybe 2. And I can see that it's going to break right to left, so I'll start it a little bit right as well. I take a few practice swings to make sure I'm brushing the ground correctly, and let's see how this goes. I didn't even make the best contact. It was pretty scoopy, but it did put me to like 4 feet of the hole, and I have a real chance at making this. I know it's tempting for these short putts to not read them and just step up and hit them, but that is how you lose an easy putt that you just should not be losing. I take the time to read it. I see it's breaking a little bit, but I mostly put it right at the hole and give it a confident stroke, and that's a good recovery for par. So finally, on hole number 7, I'm learning to trust my driver. No cuts, no shaping, nothing. Today I'm just hitting it straight. So on this hole, you cannot miss right, otherwise you're in the densest trees you've ever seen. So I still aim to the left side of the fairway, but I just trust my swing. And just like that, I hit a laser down the left side. This puts me in one of my favorite ranges, about 75 yards to the pin. This is where I take my 56-degree wedge to left arm parallel of the ground and give it a full swing like that. And you'll see that pays off so nicely. I almost dunked it. That was so close to just dunking right in. That would have been a really awesome eagle to make. This is an easy straight putt, just simple, put it in the hole. 2 under through 7. Love to see that. Okay, so this hole is interesting. This is one of the ones that the tee box is under repairs, so the blue tees are closer to the reds. This is like 85 yards to the hole. The green slopes left to right. I'm going a little bit left of the pin, hoping that it'll roll really close to it. This shot actually ends up drawing a little bit, but you'll see it bounces towards the hole. In hindsight, I really could have been a little bit more aggressive going at the flag. I really only fire it directly at pins if it's within 100 yards. I couldn't really read this green with my eyes, so I tried to feel it with my feet. But it's kind of hard to tell from this camera angle. This is a further putt than it looks like from the camera angle. So again, I'm just trying to get it as close as possible. It did not break nearly as much as I thought it would, but this is another easy tap-in par. All right, final hole, another one where it's safe to take driver, and again, I've at this point learned to trust my driver. So I'm not trying to hit it down the left side to hit a cut or fade into the middle. I'm just going at the middle of the fairway. This is also a short par 4, by the way, so you don't have to take driver, especially if your driver's not helping you. If you're having a day where your driver's betraying you, but you know you hit your 3-wood or your 5-wood well, just do that. And I am so glad I trusted my drive here because it ends up just being so good. And it's hard to see, but it takes a great bounce from the right side to the left. And I'm like 30 yards in here. Again, my goal is to get this ball to carry on the green. I would hate to be short here. I'd way rather be long, but again, I see that the green is sloping right to left, so I'm gonna try to get it on the green, on the right side. And oh my goodness, this just works out perfectly. Again, a lot of people would be tempted to take their 60-degree wedge here, and that's just not necessary, okay? Take your 56, maybe your 52. Had I taken my 60 out, I would have had to be way more precise to get it this close, and that reduces my chances of having an easy tap-in birdie like this on the last hole. So my friends, this is how you play 3 under through 9. It's a shorter course, all right? So there's that huge caveat. But again, no matter how you put it into the GIN system, reds, whites, or blues, this was scratch golf. You saw that I hit some bad shots. I also hit some really great shots that got to within 6 feet of the hole where the putt is essentially guaranteed to go in. But I'm thinking through everything. I'm thinking through the obstacles of the course. Where is it safe to miss? I'm adapting to how my swing is behaving that day. Every day might be a little bit different. If I stepped up to the course and on the first few holes that I hit my driver, I was hitting draws. Okay, great. I'm not making a swing change on the course. I'm just going to play the draw that I've got that day. On this day, I thought I was going to be hitting little cuts or fades, and instead I was just hitting them dead straight. Great problem to have, by the way. But it took to like the 7th hole for me to trust myself and my swing that day, that I could just swing my swing and it would go straight. Now, I mentioned a few times that there were many situations where people would take out a 60-degree wedge and try to get it as close as possible. I didn't use my 60-degree wedge even once this entire round. It was just the 56. I cannot recommend that enough if you're trying to score lower. The 56 has more bounce on the club. It is more forgiving. It'll roll out a little bit more so that you don't have to be super precise getting it to the hole. It's just the smarter club to use compared to a 60, like 90% of the time for 90% of people. You also saw that I took a practice swing before every single shot. Usually it was just one, but sometimes 2 or 3. For me, that's about getting in sync with my body. If I take a practice swing and it feels weird, then I'm so glad that I didn't just step up to the ball and hit it, because I probably would have hit it poorly. I take a practice swing to make sure I'm in sync, that I have good tempo, that I have good rhythm, that the club is brushing the ground, so that I know that I am, just synced up. And you saw I'm not taking like a full power practice swing. It was usually just like a half swing. And that helps a ton for scoring lower, because you're more confident stepping up to the ball. You're more able to envision the shot that you're about to hit, and then you can execute and deliver. Now, putting is usually the worst part of my game. So luckily I put the ball pretty close to the pin to make a few birdies. But on the ones that were outside of like 8 to 10 feet, like I said, my goal is not to make those, it's to get as close as possible. I'm focusing on speed more than anything else. Yes, obviously I need to read the green to find out if the putt's gonna break right, left, or if it's uphill or downhill, so I know how much, oomph to give it. But like if it's a big breaker right to left, for example, then it's just smart to lag it as close as possible, going maybe a little bit further out than you think you need to go so that it has more of a chance of diving back in. And then, making those 3 to 4 foot putts should be a no-brainer. Those are putts that you should actually practice a lot because there's a lot of pressure. And especially if there's a little bit of break on that putt, you want to make sure you're starting that on the correct line. So I hope this was helpful for you to see, especially if you're wanting to be a 5 handicap or better or anything like that. Playing at this level is not a perfect round. It's not super clean. It's just about making decent contact with the ball and managing the course. I plan to make many more videos like this in the future. So please give it a like, give it a comment, give it a subscribe, and I promise you I will deliver high quality, excellent, helpful content for you.